This lesson is to talk about the example on page 236 of the textbook, which is a word problem in which a fraction of a fraction is discussed. And so this can get confusing for students. And even though there's an example in the book, I'd like to talk it through so you can look at page 236 and watch the video and have a better feeling for what's going on here. So the problem reads that Karen spends 5/8 of her monthly income my pen's not really working here, so hold on. Of her monthly, there we go, income on rent, and then 1/4 of what remains on her dog. Now I'm going to underline that because it's critical that whenever you're working with fractions that they're clear in your own mind about what these fractions are referring to. Because it's always, a fraction is some part of something, but in this case, 5/8 is 5/8 of her total monthly income, but 1/4 is just 1/4 of what remains after she's paid rent. So the rest of the problem says that after she's spent 5/8 of her monthly income for rent, and then 1/4 of what remains spends it on her dog, she's left with $180. So the question is, what's her monthly income? So there's several ways to approach a problem like this, but one way to do it is to say that her entire monthly income, which is what we're looking to find out, can be represented with a rectangle. So if I can figure out how much money is in that rectangle, I'll have solved the problem. I'm literally looking for what is her monthly income. And so when it says she spends 5/8 of that on rent, to represent 5/8 of that monthly income, I'm just going to break up that whole rectangle into 8 pieces and then shade 5 of them. So the problem with what I've just done, the problem with what I've just done is that when I do this, and now we've got to spend 1/4 of what remains on her dog. As I look at what remains, it's kind of confusing to think of how am I going to break that up into 4 equal pieces to shade one of them. So I'm actually going to start this over. In general, if you're not doing a complicated problem, it doesn't really matter how you represent 5/8. As long as you have 8 equal-sized pieces and shade 5 of them, you're good. But in this case, it kind of makes sense. Oops. I didn't want to necessarily go A's. Here we go. Monthly income with the rectangle again. But this time, when I shade 5/8 for rent, I'm going to make 8 equal-sized strips. And we'll see in just a second. Why it sort of matters. So I go, okay, here's my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's my 5 out of 8. Again, I don't know how much income there is, but if I broke it up into 8 equal pieces and spent 5 of them, I've now spent 5/8 of the income for rent. But now when I go off and do 1/4 of the remainder, now this remainder, what's remaining unspent, can be broken up into 4 equal pieces rather nicely. You just kind of go the other direction. I was going up and down with my lines to break up into 8 pieces, but now those 3 columns, I'm ignoring that there's any columns in there. I'm just looking side to side, breaking up it into 4 strips so that I can shade one of them for the dog. Now, what's great is there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 little boxes left, and $180 is sitting in those 9 boxes. If I split $180 evenly into 9 equal pieces, I've got 20 bucks in each box. That's great, and I'm only going to write in one of those because I'm using a stylus, and it's kind of hard to do that, to write in any of them. But there it is, 20 bucks. But now comes a little bit of an extra problem. It's like, great, one of these squares is worth $20, but how much money is there altogether? I mean, I could kind of easily figure out how much was spent on the dog. There's 20, 40, 60. I could even figure out how much there is altogether in this orange bit, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, 140, 160, 180, 200, 220, 240. I could do all sorts of stuff. But what about this part over here that they spent for rent? So the trick now is to extend these horizontal lines, these lines going across, and I'm not doing it very evenly, I apologize, but extend this off so that the entire monthly income is broken up into equal-sized pieces. And how many of them are there? Well, there's 4 rows, 8 columns, so altogether, hello, it's late in the day, there are 32 little boxes. If each one of them is worth 20 bucks, then the entire monthly income is simply $20 32 times. And 2 times 32 is 64, so 20 times 32 is 640, and that's what Karen makes. I am assuming Karen is living with her parents, because that's not much in this day and age.